Hey guys, Nathan, Duck River Honey, and I've got bee activity on this swarm trap up here. I don't know if I've caught a swarm or if it's scout bees, so we're gonna climb up there and find out. All right guys, so I just got bumped in the veil. They are guarding this entrance. I'm gonna say that we've got a swarm that's moved in here. So bumping is a defensive behavior. They do that usually before they sting. And they're definitely guarding that entrance. Yeah, there's definitely a swarm in this box just based on the way they're acting. Good morning, guys. I am going to move this swarm. Got up early this morning, earlier than I wanted to. The alarm was not what I wanted to hear. It's a Saturday, but the bees aren't letting me sleep in. Anyway, I went and closed them up, just put some wire mesh in the entrance. You've seen that in a couple other videos, how I do that. So I was thinking last night about this swarm, and they're only about 100 yards from the hive stand that I want to put them on. And that's a problem because I don't know how long they've been in this box. If they've been there 3 or 4 days, which is possible, then if I move them that 100 yards, they're all gonna drift back to the old hive location and they're gonna lose their foragers. And if it's a small swarm, that can really weaken them. So I was thinking I probably need to reorient these bees, move them to a yard a few miles away for a week. And goodness, I've got vacation coming up. And then I remembered an obligation that I've got to a fellow down the road. His name's Brother Mark. He is a pastor at a church in town, and he wants to get into beekeeping. And he was asking my advice early in the spring about buying a package, and I told him I wouldn't buy a package. I would catch some local swarms because these local bees seem to be tougher and just do better for me. And he didn't know anything about catching swarms, swarm trapping. So I put some swarm traps up for him, and he was a little reluctant. He wanted to get bees and have a surety that he would have bees this year. So I told him that if we didn't catch any swarms in those traps, I would give him a swarm. And since this swarm has got to be reoriented anyway, and I owe Brother Mark some bees, I'm just gonna give him these bees and get him started. And then if we catch any down there, you know, I'll use those to replace this swarm. And if we don't catch any down there, well, I got someone started in beekeeping. And that's one of the big goals I've got for this channel, is to help people get into beekeeping. So I'm kind of excited about this. I'm gonna see if he'll let me film going through the swarm, getting them set up with him. I think it'd be neat to, you know, hear questions from someone who's never seen a beehive before. So I'm excited about this, really look forward to it. And we're pulling up to the swarm now, so we're gonna get them moved. So that went pretty smoothly. These screens work really well. Bees can't get out, they can still breathe. And as you can see, I went ahead and put another trap up in the tree stand there. Never know, we may catch another one today, tomorrow, who knows. So we'll take a look at them, see how big they are, get a feeder in, just because it takes so much feed to draw the wax that they need to build the nest out. Feeding them calms them down, it makes them want to stay here, and it just speeds the process up tremendously. Your goals this year, depending on how big this swarm is, if it's a small swarm, I would say give up on making honey this year and just feed them sugar syrup until it runs out of their ears and try to get them to draw 5 mediums out before September. Because that once September hits, you can't get them to draw wax for anything. And then they'll just go into winter. But if you can get them to draw out those 5 boxes, you can get them down into 3 and winter them in 3, take those 2 and extract them, and that makes sugar syrup honey, which is not something you want to eat, but you can dump that and just waste it. But that drawn comb is invaluable next spring. Since you've got that drawn comb, once you get nectar starting to come in, you can use that to get them to make honey. Okay. And it's a whole lot faster and easier on them if they've got drawn comb already versus trying to draw out boxes of foundation and then put honey in it.
You pretty much wear your outfit when you're working the bees. I mean, do you?
Yeah, I don't like getting stung in the face.
Yeah, that hurts.
I got stung in the nostril a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Right inside the nostril, my left nostril. And I've been stung enough at this point that I don't react that bad.
Yeah.
But still, that wasn't very much fun.
I got you.
So, you see all these guys on YouTube that work bees with no protection at all.
Yeah.
And they can probably do that with their bees.
Yeah.
You know, they've got very calm bees. I'm running feral stock, and they can be a little testier.
I see.
They can be a little bit more defensive. But they survive.
Yeah.
You know, I like survivor bees that can take care of themselves for the most part.
Yeah.
I think you've still got to deal with Varroa.
What's that? Varroa.
Varroa mite.
Okay, yes, sir.
But
okay.
Latin name Varroa destructor, and that is the biggest problem facing honeybees in the U.S. The bees that you've got are from Europe, and they are Apis mellifera, mellifera, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but the Asian honeybee, Apis cerana, coexisted with Varroa, and the Varroa mites got out from Asia, and they have infested most of the world except for Australia. And this breed of honeybee, the European honeybee, does not know how to deal with Varroa very well. So that is the reason that most colonies die, most kept colonies die. It's probably the most common reason that a lot of feral colonies die as well.
So is this about as close we can be without stuff on us? If I was showing somebody my hive, hey, come on, take a look at it. Well, don't go any further.
I'd be fine right here most of the year. Now, when I've got some hives in my honey production yard right now that have got 6 boxes.
Yeah.
And their populations are between 60 and 80,000. Wow. I wouldn't stand this close to them.
I got you. Okay.
I mean, I've been stung 30 yards away from the front.
Yeah.
But the big hives get really defensive.
I got you.
Just because they know they've got bees to expend.
Okay.
A honeybee dies once they sting.
That's what I heard, yeah.
So they don't want to sting unless they need to, but those big hives, they know they've got bees to waste. They'll sting you. They don't care.
Yeah.
Little bitty swarms like this, they're usually really gentle.
Yeah, good. So do they land on you and stuff?
Oh yeah, they will.
Okay.
Sometimes. I've been covered in bees before.
Yeah.
You really just get used to it.
I guess.
So what I'm going to do here...
I'm just here at your mercy, so you tell me. So they won't try to sting through a suit. I mean, you say when they sting you, they die. So they won't.
I have been stung through a suit. I've been stung through jeans.
Okay.
It's usually when you squish a bee, though.
Gotcha.
If you're doing good beekeeping, you usually won't get stung.
I got you.
And by good beekeeping, I mean don't bang on the hive. Don't let hive parts see all the foragers that are trying to get back. They're lost.
They're lost.
Yeah, I moved their hive. They can't find it.
Okay, it's right here.
Exactly.
Okay.
That is how tightly they orient to a location.
That's amazing.
Now, being this close, they would find it because they can smell it. But you typically can't move them more than about 3 feet.
So it's natural to see some dead ones, or
those were cockroaches, actually. Remember, this is a swarm trap.
Okay.
And yeah, bees die all the time.
Okay.
They live about 6 weeks
Okay.
in the summer. So this inner cover, that's a cockroach.
Is that normal?
Swarm trap.
Gotcha.
So it's been sitting in a tree for 2 months. Those are good looking bees.
So is there a queen in this?
See her
one?
getting her abdomen up right there. That could be releasing a little bit of alarm pheromone.
Gotcha.
If you ever smell green bananas, then that's alarm pheromone.
Okay.
So smoke typically gets their heads down, gives them something to do. They go in and gorge themselves with nectar if they have it.
Okay.
It also masks that alarm pheromone.
Okay.
So see all the heads sticking up between, see the heads looking at us?
Yes.
That is a pre-defensive posture.
Okay.
They are ready
They're not
to
real.
get after us if they need to. So we give them just a little puff of smoke.
Does that irritate them?
Doesn't really irritate them. I think smoke's good for the bees, good for
Okay.
the beekeepers.
Okay.
Now this bee right here, that is a drone.
So he goes, okay.
That is a male bee.
He's a little bigger.
He's bigger.
Yeah.
He cannot sting. You can pick him up
Okay.
and eat him. He cannot
a trip.
sting you. See his,
Is that another one right there? Oh,
no, that's a worker. So see the wraparound eyes on this guy?
Yeah. I think that's
Yeah, he's got bigger eyes,
Okay.
much bigger bee.
okay.
So that is a drone.
Okay.
There you go, bud.
So you don't need to go back in there.
He doesn't need to.
Okay.
Their only purpose in life is to mate with virgin queens. And they will not mate with the queen from their own hive. So they just fly out every day
Okay.
and try to, it's weird, they have drone congregation areas. Think of it like a singles bar.
Yeah.
They will go a quarter mile away from this hive and he will join with a bunch of other drones and they will fly around
Wow.
in a circle 50 to 150 foot up in
Yeah.
the air and wait for a virgin queen to fly through their congregation area. And then the virgin queens will mate with between 10 and 30 drones. And that's the only time they ever mate. They do a series of mating flights when they're first getting started, and then they go back to the hive, and they won't leave that hive again unless they swarm. And actually, I'm going to put them in a different box, just because I want your wife to have a nice, even colored
Okay.
hive here. See, my wife doesn't see my hives all the time, so they're all sorts of colors.
They're all.
You always want to open up some space when you start pulling frames that've got bees in them.
Okay. So these would be called medium frames.
Yeah, these are mediums. I use all mediums.
That's what you said.
I think it makes a lot of sense for most hobby beekeepers. See this behavior here? That is festooning.
Good, bad?
No, it's good.
Okay.
It's associated with drawing comb.
Okay.
So you can see the long string
Yeah,
of
that's a
bees.
trip.
They are drawing comb in here. See?
It's a trip, man.
They've already got nectar in here.
Good son.
Yeah. Yeah, they've been doing this the hard way. That's the real stuff. If you ate that, it would taste like diluted honey.
Oh, well. Is there a queen in that batch?
I didn't see one in here. I'm gonna try to find her for you if I can.
Okay.
She may be a little tough to find.
But she's not going to fly away.
Hope not. If she does, we got problems.
Okay, right.
The queen is usually going to be in the biggest cluster of
Okay.
bees. So until they get more established and they've got some comb and can kind of divide up,
Yeah.
she can be a little tough to find. See, we got eggs in here. Can you see that? Down inside the cells?
Yeah. Is that good? I think that's
That's a great sign.
Okay.
See the little white dots
Yes,
down
I
in
do.
down in
I
the
do.
bottoms of those cells?
I do.
That means that we've got a laying queen in this hive already.
What does that mean, Lane?
Laying queen.
Laying.
There's the queen right there. See her?
Yes, I do.
See how she looks different?
Look at that, yeah.
She doesn't have hair on her thorax. She's got a bald spot there.
Okay.
Longer abdomen, longer legs. Her legs are orange colored. So there's your laying queen in this hive.
There she goes over there.
Yep. You can mark queens. I've done it. I see how hard they can be to see. She just disappeared under that batch of bees. So you can look and look and look and not see them.
I got you.
But you got one.
That's cool. It just sits there like the frame does.
Yeah, and I always put these on the left-hand side.
Okay.
It does not matter. Really, I put them on one side or the other, but I put them on the left just because I know where they are in all of my hives.
Okay.
Every single one's the same.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do here, since I have bees on that frame, I'm going to push that one over before I put this one in.
Okay.
You roll bees, like the reason you create space is if I went in and just pulled that center frame out, there's not enough space here, and you can roll bees against each other and crush them.
So how did you start it?
You start on an outside frame, usually the second from the edge, pull it out completely, and then that gives you some space.
Okay.
You can open up the nest a little bit.
So what?
The reason that you need to get into your hives, especially as they're growing, and these are going to start growing fast, because you've got a pretty good number of bees here, and we're going to be feeding them.
Okay.
So you need to add space.
Okay.
And not only that, you need to checkerboard your foundations in.
Meaning?
So they will start drawing here. They've got 2.5 frames drawn.
Okay.
They'll draw this box out, and they typically will not draw this side of this frame or this side of this frame over here.
Okay.
So what you do is before you add the second box, you move this up to the second box so it's easy to get to. Pull the feeder up, move it up, checkerboard in 2 frames, and then turn those 2 around. And then you've got drawn comb on the outside edges. They'll fill in the rest of it.
Okay.
And then you move them into the next box. If you don't move them into another box and add space, they will swarm again.
Okay, so let's say we're looking at that a couple months away and it's completely full.
A couple months away, that's going to be like a couple weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what do we do then? We add another?
Yeah, we're going to add another box.
Okay.
Now, what I'm going to do here is show you how to shake bees.
Okay.
This is one of the best ways to move bees.
Okay.
It's easy on the bees, even though it may not look like it.
Okay.
So I've got a ton of bees in this box.
Okay.
Now they're in that box.
Wow. Okay.
And I didn't hurt any of them.
That was pretty simple.
Pop that loose. They propolised it some already.
Meaning?
Propolis they make from sap.
Okay.
And it's a sticky substance, so use it like glue.
Okay.
But it's also an antiseptic, so it acts as part of the immune system of the hive.
Okay.
See the drone there?
I got you.
Tell the difference in the...
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've been a beekeeper for about 10 minutes now, and you can tell the difference in a drone, a worker, and a queen. You've seen all 3 of them. That's pretty good. And then I'm going to sprinkle these bees with some syrup.
Is that come made, or did you make it?
I made it.
Okay. Is that something I need to do with a 5-gallon bucket?
You don't have to do it with a 5-gallon bucket because you don't have that many hives.
Okay.
I'm doing this just to let them know that it's here.
Okay.
And get them excited.
They're really liking it.
Yes. Yeah, they're going to be hungry for a long time because they've got a huge demand on calories right now.
Okay.
All right, and
Is hot weather put a lot of strain on it?
they'll beard some.
What does that mean?
You'll see them covering the front of the hive.
Okay. Okay.
Come on, girls.
You don't want to crush them if you help.
Yeah, you try to be careful to not crush them. This is 1.3 to 1 sugar syrup. So this is 4 gallons of water with 25 pounds of sugar.
Okay.
What I would recommend for you is mixing a 4-pound bag of sugar with about 5 pounds of water, which is about 0.65 gallons. Should be about 2.5 quarts or so, somewhere around there.
So about a little over half a gallon.
Yeah.
Okay.
0.65 gallons.
So
and that'll make close to a gallon, which will come close to filling this up.
Okay. Now how many times will I do this in a given?
As soon as they take it down.
And I'll be able to see
And you
that.
got about 3 frames of bees in here. I'd say they'll have that sucked down within a week.
Okay.
Now, if you get 6 or 8 frames or 2 boxes, they can take it down in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
This is a very stimulative, thin mix.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of water in this compared to the amount of sugar.
Okay.
So they need a lot of comb area to put it in to be able to dry it down. Because they've got to dry it down to below 18% moisture before they can turn it into honey. So they've got to suck a lot of water out of this. So they've got to have a lot of comb area to process all this.
So that's filling up both sides of that.
Yeah, it'll fill up this whole thing.
Okay. So
Now,
the bee population will increase.
drastically.
Okay. And the eggs.
Takes about 3 days for an egg to hatch. Yep. And it becomes a larvae.
Okay.
It will be a larvae. I should have looked this up before I came down to talk to you. But they will get capped at around 12 days, I think. So 12 days from being laid. And then a worker will emerge, I think it's 19 or 21 days after being laid.
Okay.
So you've got basically 3 weeks before you're going to start turning your population over here.
Okay.
Because they've got eggs, but no brood, no larvae.
That's what happens after the egg.
Exactly.
Okay.
If we go in later this week and look in there, you'll see little grub-looking things in those cells. But right now, you've only got eggs.
Okay.
And at about 12 days or so, they will get capped. And then they'll be capped until they're about 3 weeks old. And then they'll emerge. And then they will go through several different chores within the hive. First thing they do is they become house bees and nurse bees, and they take care of the other larvae. And then as they get older, their wax glands will develop, so they become wax makers. And then they run out of wax, and the last thing they do is become foragers. So they'll go out and fly and find resources, pollen and nectar, to feed the hive, and they will fly themselves to death. That's the death of a forager. They've got about 500 miles that they can fly, and once they fly those 500 miles, they're wore out. They die. They literally will work themselves to death in the summer.
So if you had to put a number on those amount of bees, how many would that be?
They're pretty small. I'd say they're 6,000 to 8,000.
That sounds like a lot.
No,
I haven't seen a lot, have I?
Yeah, they're pretty small.
Okay.
A 3-pound package is typically what you get, and that's
Okay.
going to be about 10,000 bees.
Oh,
I'd say they're not quite that big.
I got you.
They're a, I would say, an average size feral swarm
Okay.
for what I've caught.
Good.
They will do fine. They will surprise you at how well they do.
Good. Yeah.
They'll really surprise you. As we're doing a checkup on this hive that we installed the other day, I remembered that I failed to introduce Brother Mark. So this is Brother Mark. Brother Mark, what made you get interested in beekeeping?
Well, several things. I guess the fascinating side of it is all the different parts that go into the queen, the drones, the worker bees, and all the things that they do. It's just an incredible God thing in terms of what God did there. I guess secondly is that, as you had mentioned earlier, you know, once you get going at it, then it doesn't take you to be over this every day. I mean,
Yeah.
And that's what's, I like that aspect, that I don't have to be out here every day. I want to, you know, but, you know, it's just one of those things that It takes a little time at first, like you said, but I think once you get it going, they just take care of themselves to a certain extent.
To a certain extent, you know, I grew up with cattle, and in the winter they've got to be fed and they've got to be checked, and they get out. You have to have fences, and every time there's a storm, you have to run the fences and make sure that everything's good. Bees just trespass everywhere. They don't need fences. I love that aspect of it. And as long as they've got enough food, and you're doing what you need to at the right times of year, they're really not that much trouble.
That's cool.
All right, let's get in here and see what they have done. I tell you what, you should really be doing this.
Well,
I will watch.
okay.
I may not be a good instructor. I'm so used to doing.
Should there be any underneath the top?
There may be a few. Oh, we've got ants.
Just don't worry about him.
Yeah, you just lean that over there on the ground.
Okay.
We're gonna check their feed. They're about, they've taken a lot down. They're over half empty. And it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, almost 4 frames of bees there. So they've not had enough time to turn over their population yet.
Is that kind of what you got expecting? I mean, what was it, 2 the other day?
Yeah, well, they've not had an emergence yet. They've not had enough time. What I'd like to have you do is pull this frame here, and what you do, I'll show you how to do this.
Okay.
This tool, I love this tool. It does everything you need to, but it's very, very simple.
Okay.
Loosen the propolis, get the J hook in there, and that will pop that up. And then you can set that to the side. I really need to get a smoker lit.
Okay.
They've got a lot of heads up. Smoke just calms them down, so I'll do that. So what we're going to do here is give them a few little puffs of smoke. Don't want to overpower them with it, but just kind of get their heads down and divert their attention. All right. Then what I'd like you to do is to come in here and pry these two apart here and there.
This one?
Yeah, choke up on it a little bit.
Okay.
Like that. And then up here. Yep. All right. And then what you can do is move these 2 frames together.
Okay.
See how I'm doing that?
Gotcha.
That is designed to not crush bees. If you keep 2 frames together, you can't crush bees in between them. Otherwise, you've got to be careful about the side rails here, because you'll crush bees in between them. Now, you go ahead.
So are there more bees than there were a few days ago?
No, they've not had an emergence.
So
they've just spread out some, and they're drawing. Yeah, they're drawing some more wax.
So we didn't necessarily draw any more bees in.
Nope.
Okay.
No. So, pulling the frame out, you want to be very gentle that you don't get the end bars against the sides of the box. See, they've got some pollen up here.
Okay.
They're wringing some nectar or syrup in the corners. That's pretty typical. And there are eggs all over this.
Okay.
Can you see the eggs down in there?
Little white things, aren't there?
Little white
You
things,
showed
yep.
me the other day, yeah.
And right in here, you can see brood. This is actually what I've heard called a milk brood stage. You can see the royal jelly that they're putting down in the bottoms of the cells.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
If you blow on bees, they don't like it, but it
Okay.
will make them move. So you can really see that now.
Okay, gotcha. Cool.
So they're developing just fine. Just
This
fine.
was already in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. They're doing very well. They're 3 weeks, a little bit less than 3 weeks away from exploding their population. When you think about it, the brood, let's see it bee right there with pollen on his legs or her legs.
Yeah, now that's what I've been wanting to see.
Isn't that cool?
Cool. That's too cool.
That's neat.
So are the ants a concern?
They'll fight them off. I'm seeing
Okay.
some ants above the top cover, but they're not in the feeder,
Okay.
so they should be able to handle that.
Okay.
That's the big reason that I like these internal feeders, because it's easy for the bees to defend. Come on, guys, get out of the way.
So how do you know if you're getting that too close? I mean, they're going like, "Ree."
No, unfortunately, it is hard to do a full inspection without squishing bees.
I got
You just do your best.
I got
But you can see good technique here. See, this frame over here is not drawn, so I can keep all three of these together.
Okay.
And just move them all, and then you've only got to worry about a pinch point here. So you just wait until it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
And then close it. Come on, get out of the way. If you put just a touch of pressure on them, a lot of times they'll move.
So this one that's going around my head right now, he's wanting to sting me, or he just not necessarily? It's gone now, I think. But he was like, but it didn't bother me.
A lot of times I think they're just curious, more than anything. If one wants to sting you, then they'll usually bump, do a head bump a few times before they actually get into a really defensive posture. Smoker went out. All right, you want to close them?
Do we need to replenish this?
We're going to replenish that. Just set the inner cover there at an angle so that I still have access to that.
Because that's what I'll do all summer, won't I?
I would.
Yeah. Well, that's what I need here.
You technically don't have to feed them a ton the first year, but my goal would be to put them into 5 completely drawn out medium boxes.
Okay.
Completely drawn out.
You're talking about?
Yes, 5 high.
Gotcha.
And then I would take the top 2 and probably extract it, and then get the syrup honey out of it.
Okay.
Just to save the drawn comb for next spring to put on his honey supers.
Gotcha. Okay.
Drawn comb is incredibly valuable, and right now this swarm is going to be drawing wax. They don't do that all year long.
Okay.
At certain times it can be incredibly hard to get them to draw wax, even if you feed them. So
And you said they need how much to survive?
they need about 30 pounds, which these guys will be fine. Big thing is, around July, we're going to have to do a mite treatment.
Okay, July. That's what I was going to ask you. When would you mite?
Yeah, around July, and then watch them in October time frame, November. Guys, I appreciate you watching. If you would, and if you like my videos, and hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time.
Take care.